Hi everyone, welcome. We are so excited to have you here as you start your journey towards New York City Specialized High School Admissions Test SHSAT. In this video, we're covering a math lesson to build the foundation you'll be needing to get a top score. Before we begin, be sure to have a pen and notebook ready with you because we'll be talking about many tips and strategies throughout, so make sure that you do have all of the necessary equipments so that you can note down anything that you find important. Also, if you cannot afford expensive tuitions, don't worry. Our free lessons and practices are more than enough to help you prepare completely for your exam. Plus, our app also offers a predictive test, which is going to give you a realistic feel of what the exam is going to feel like. Now, let's get started and take the first step towards landing into one of New York City's specialized high schools. So like I said before, if you would want more practice materials, make sure to download our SHSAT Prep app from Apple App Store, where you are going to find lots of different practice materials so that you do not need expensive tutoring anymore. Without any further ado, let's get ahead with the video.
So in this lesson, we are going to learn how to simplify the algebraic expressions, how to expand brackets, as in break brackets and all, simplify the algebraic fraction even more, how to add and subtract these expressions, how to factorize, and also how to simplify exponential expressions. So let's just get started. As we can see, we have an expression here. Of course, one of these expressions has only 3a, and the other expression, as you can see, it has a squared. So this has 2a squared and 1a. So expressions are like whenever you have two expressions with the same variables, only then you can add and subtract them. So in this case, let's say we have 2a squared and we have 6a squared. Let's just bring those together, okay? So 2a squared and 6a squared, because the variables are the same, you can actually add or subtract the coefficients. So it's 2 minus 6. So 2 minus 6 is what? Minus 4, right? And then you just write the a squared as it is. Then what? You have a minus 3a. You don't have anything else to go with it. So you just put the minus 3a as it is. And as for the numbers, you have a 5 and you have a 2. So what's 5 and 2? 5 and 2 together is 7. So that is your final expression. Okay? Let's move on to the next question. 15a plus 5 minus 2a plus minus 2. Of course, we do need to break the parentheses here. So that's 15a plus 5. Minus and minus makes plus. So it's going to be plus 2a. Minus and plus makes minus. So that's minus 2. Now let's put the a's together. So that means it's 15a plus 2a. Now let's put the numbers together. So that's 5 minus 2. So 15a plus 2a is 17a. 5 minus 2 is 3. So that's 17a plus 3. Moving on. We have 6.25x minus 4 minus 0.18x. So of course, we need to put 6.25x and 0.18x together, and we put the minus 4 separately, okay? So if you do 6.25 minus 0.18, it's basically just subtracting like this. Let's subtract it on the side here. So you take 5 as 15, so 8 minus 15, that is 7. And then you add 1 to 2, you 1 here, so that becomes 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Put the decimal, 6 minus 0 is 6. So that's just 6.07. You have an x for sure. And we just put the minus 4 to the right. That is your final expression. We have a practice question here. So generally in videos like this, we do keep some practice questions for you. Make sure you take a screenshot of this, or you can pause the video, try doing this on your own. And I hope that you do get this answer while you're done, okay? Let's move on to the next question. Simplify. So we have 3, and then we have parentheses, 2p plus 8 minus 2, again parentheses, 5 plus 3p. So what we do in this case is, when you look at parentheses like this, because 2p plus 8, both of these two terms has 3 as the parentheses format in the front, what that means is there's a hidden multiplication sign, okay? That means 3 is separately getting multiplied to 2p, 3 is getting separately multiplied to 8, minus 2 is getting separately multiplied to 5. Again, minus 2 is getting separately multiplied to 3p. A lot of people make this mistake, okay? They forget to put the minus 2 in the very last part in front of 3p, yeah? Okay, now what? Now you just break the brackets. So 3 times 2p, so 3 times 2 is 6, that's 6p. Plus 3 times 8 is 24. Minus 2 times 5 is 10. Minus 2 times 3 is 6 and p. So now you see you have 6p here, you have 6p here. You have 24, you have 10. I just put the digits together and the variables together. So 6p minus 6p is going to cancel each other out. And you're ending with 24 minus 10, which is 14. That is your final answer. Moving on to the next question. Here's a similar question. So for this particular question, I'm not going to write in this format because here we've broken down everything. Let's try to figure out this next question without breaking, okay? Let's try to do it according to mental math. So if you see here, you have 10 and you are needing to break down 10 with 4n. So what is 10 times 4n? 10 times 4 is 40. And you just have a n. Minus 10 times 5 is 50. Plus 13 with 3n. So what's 13 times 3? That's 39. And you have an n. And then you have a plus. What's 13 times 2? That's 26. Okay? Then do you remember what I do? I do the n's together. I am going to do this and this together. So 40 plus 39. So what's 40 plus 40? It's 80. And because I'm doing 39 and not 40, so I need to do minus 1. So 80 minus 1 is 79n. Minus 50 plus 26. So minus and plus makes minus. So that means you do 50 minus 26. Instead of doing that, let's do 50 minus 25, which gives us 25. But because we need to subtract 26 and not 25, so we need to go 1 unit further. So that's 25 minus 1, that's 24. But what should the sign be? So before 50 and 26, 50 has a minus and 26 has a plus. Because 50 is bigger than 26, we need to put minus in this case. So that's 79n minus 24, okay? So if you did get this correctly, here is a practice question for you. After you're done, I hope that you do get the answer as 2m. Moving on. So here we have 2 parentheses. So when you have 2 or 3 or maybe more parentheses together, which are basically multiplying the expressions that are inside, what you do is you take the first term of the first parenthesis. So that is a. So you take a here. And then you take the entire bit of the next parenthesis. So that's a parentheses x plus 2y. Once you're done, then you take the next part of the next parentheses here. So that is what? That's plus b. Make sure that you do not forget the symbol, okay? And then once again, you put the second part again. So basically, the first part of the first one, the entire second one, plus the second part of the second one, the second part of the first one, and then again, the entire second one. That's how it works. Now, if you break the parentheses, yeah, that's 8 times x, that's just ax, 2a and y, so that's 2ay, b and x is bx, 2b and y, that's 2by. You can keep your answer like this because since there are no numbers here, we cannot do any additions and subtractions. Let's move on. Here we have another question. It's quite similar. It's just that it has a minus sign, okay? Let's remember what we have just learned. We take the first term of the first parentheses. Then we take the entire second parenthesis. So 5y minus 7z. Then we take the second term of the first parenthesis, which was minus 2y. Don't forget the symbol. Then we take the entire bit of the second parenthesis. So that's 5y minus 7z. Now we break the parentheses. So 3x times 5y. So 3 times 5 is 15. And then we're just ending up with x and a y. Then you have a minus here. So you say 3 times 7 is 21. Then you have x and a z here. Then you put a minus. 2 times 5 is 10. You have a y and a y multiplied. So that's y squared, right? Then you see you have a minus 2y here and a minus 7z here. So a lot of students get this wrong. They would write just a minus thinking that, okay, there's just a minus in front of 7. But no, there's a minus on both sides and you're multiplying it. So we know when you multiply, the signs should change if it's a minus and a minus, right? Because a minus and a minus makes plus. And 2 times 7 is 14. And you have y and z. So you just write y and z here. Okay, now what? Now, is there any variable which are common? Because we have xy, xz, y squared, yz. No, right? Since there are no variables that are exactly the same, that is the end of this math. Okay, I hope that you did get it. Let's move on. Here's another practice question for you. I hope that you do get this answer. And by the way, a lot of schools teach this as a formula, okay? The formula for a squared minus b squared being a plus b and a minus b. But here what I want you to do is I want you to practice it and break it in the format that we've just learned so that you do get this answer as the remainder, okay? Let's move on. So here we have two fractions, but of course these fractions are now having an extra x with it. So what do we do in that case? Don't worry. Let's just write this individually. So that's 4 over 5x plus 2x, right? So what do we do? Generally, we need to put the denominators in the same format, remember? So to do that, because here 2x does not have any denominator, we are going to assume that 2x has a 1 as a denominator, okay? And then because it's a 5x here, we need to multiply 5x to the denominator. And if you do that, you also need to multiply a 5x to the numerator here, right? So that gives us what? That gives us 4 over 5x plus, of course, in the denominator it's just 5x. But in the numerator, that gives me 2 times 5 as 10. And x with x, that's x squared, okay? Now, if you want to write the entire denominator as it is, in the numerators, we need to add 4 to the 10x squared. But can you really go further? You cannot, because 4 and 10x squared, you cannot add them because they're not of the same variables. So that is the end of this math as well. Let's move on. Here we once again see two fractions, but this time, if you look clearly, the two fractions have denominators as 7 and 14, right? So that should be quite easy because we know 7 times 2 is 14. So if you do that, of course, you do need to multiply a 2 to the numerator, which is 3d plus 5 as well, right? And this is going to be as it is. So now what? Now, because the denominators are the same, 7 times 2 is 14. In the numerator, you need to break the parentheses. So you do 2 times 3d. So 2 times 3d is what? 2 times 3 is 6 with a d. Plus, then you do 2 times 5. So 2 times 5 is 10 plus d minus 6. Now, if you see, you have 6d and then you have a d here. So you can do 6d plus d, which is 7d. And then you have a 10 minus 6 here, which is 4. 10 minus 6 is 4 over 14. You cannot go furthermore. So that is the end of this question as well. Okay. Let's see, we have another question. This time, we don't have the exact same number that we can just multiply. So this means that whenever you have numbers that are totally different, like prime numbers, you basically multiply 1 with each other. So you multiply 3 with 2 and 2 with 3. So basically, you replace the numbers and then you multiply, okay? So you swap and you multiply. So here, in the case of 2, I'm going to multiply that to 3. And here in the case of 3, I'm going to multiply that to 2. What happens to the numerators? We also need to multiply 5a minus 4 to 3. And we need to multiply 7a plus 6 to 2. Now what? Now you break the parentheses. So 5a times 3 is what? 5 times 3 is 15. And then we have an a. 4 times 3 is 12 over 3 times 2 is 6 minus 7a times 2. So 7 times 2 is 14. A plus 6 times 2 is 12 over 6. Okay. Now, what you do now is, of course, you join everything. So that's 6 here. But in the numerator, you write 15a minus 12. Then it's the tricky part because a lot of students make this mistake. They write the minus 14a plus 12 as it is. But no, the minus is in front of this entire thing here. See? The minus is in front of this entire thing, right? So that means in the next line, you need to break the parentheses. So that's going to be minus 14a, and then minus and minus, these both minuses, sorry, this minus and the plus is going to end up with a minus 12 here over 6. Now what? You have a 15a minus 14a. So that's just a, because 15 minus 14, that's 1, right? That's just a. Minus 12 means minus 24 over 6. That is your final answer. Okay, moving on. We have a practice question here since we did so many math already. I hope that you do get your answer as this. Okay, let's look at this. Okay, so the question says, what is the sum of this and this? So sum means addition. Okay, so that means we just need to add negative 3x plus 2y, negative 5y. Let me just put a parentheses here, plus negative 2x plus 10. So putting a parentheses is, of course, essential because sometimes had it not been a sum, if it had been like a difference, or if you needed to put a minus or a subtraction sign in the middle, of course, the signs that you put to the right inside the parentheses, they would also have been changed. But because it's a sum here, it's a plus, the signs would not change, okay? So anyways, let's just break the parentheses now. It's going to be the same, and just like I said, plus and minus is still minus 2x, plus and plus is still plus 10. Now you do the x's together. You have minus 3x, you have minus 2x. So minus and minus is a plus, but the sign is going to be minus because it's a 3. 3 is positive here. So that's 3, negative 3 and negative 2. So that is negative 5x. And then there's nothing you can do about the 5y, so you just put negative 5y as it is. And then you have 2 and 12. So what's 2 plus 12? 2 plus 12 is 12. Sorry, 2 plus 10, that's just 12. Okay? That is your final answer. Okay, we have another question here. Of course, we are supposed to add them. And while we add, of course, you do need to break the parentheses by multiplying the number that's in front, and then you add. Okay, I hope that you do get this answer. Okay, moving on. Subtract this from this. Okay, so this is a tricky part. Let's say if I tell you to subtract 2 from 3, okay? 2 from 3, what do? Do you go 2 minus 3? No. You need to go 3 minus 2. So basically, what happens after the from comes first, okay? So subtract this from this means what's here after the from, that comes first. So we write 15x minus 7y plus 3 first. And then you put the subtraction sign, and then you put whatever is in front. So that is negative 2x minus 12y plus 4. Okay? Now what? Now let's just break the parentheses. So that's 15x plus 7y minus 3. Now you do minus and minus, which is plus 2x, minus and minus, which is plus 12y, minus and plus, which is minus 4. Now what? Now you have x here and x here. So that's what? 15x plus 12x. Sorry, plus 2x. So 15x plus 2x, that is 17x. Then you have 7y and minus 12y here. So 7y plus 12y. So 7 plus 12 is 19. So that's just going to be plus 19y. Then you have minus 3 and minus 4. So minus and minus makes plus. 3 and 4 is 7. But because 4 is the bigger one, which has a minus in front, the sign is going to be minus. So 17x plus 19y minus 7 is your final answer. Here is a practice question. I hope that you do get this answer correctly. Let's move on. All right, now we have factorization. So when we have factorization questions, they basically want us to not expand and simplify like we've been doing so far, to rather take commons, okay? So you have x cubed, as in you have 3x's in the first half, then you have a minus, then you have 2x. So in the first half, you have 3x's, in the next half, you have 1x. So you need to know what you can take common. So you can take one of the x's as common, right? Now, if you take 3x's and if you take 1x away, you are ending up with 2x's. So that is basically x squared. You put the minus sign. If you take away the x from the 2x, you are going to end up with 2. That is basically how you factorize, okay? Let's move on to a more difficult question because now we have more here. First of all, let's say if the question told us to expand or simplify, we would have broken the brackets, right? Broken the brackets. That's a tongue twister. Okay, so we would have broken the brackets or the parentheses, as in we would have written x squared minus 4x and so on. But now, since it tells us to factorize, what we do is we take common. So in this bit here and in this bit here, what do we see common? We have x minus 4 as common. And what's remaining here, if we take away the x minus 4, we have x that's remaining. Once again, if we take away the x minus 4 in the next half, we have plus 3 as common. So that is your final answer, okay? Let's move on to the next question. Okay, once again you take commons, okay? So from the first half here, from these two terms and from these two terms, this time because we have 4 terms here, we can try to separate into 2 halves. So we take 2 on the first side and 2 on the next side. So if you take common, what can you take common from ax minus 4a? Of course, you can take a common. So ax divided by a is just x that's remaining, minus 4a divided by a, that's just 4 that's remaining, minus. Now from bx and 4b, what can you take common? You can take b common. So if you take from bx, if you take away the b, so of course you're going to be left with the x. From 4b, if you take away the b, you are going to be left with the 4. A lot of students make this mistake. They would have just written plus here because they see a plus in front of 4b. But what you do need to realize is that we have taken minus b as common, okay? Because it's a minus here and because it was a plus there. So if you take away from plus, if you take away the minus, it means it has to be a minus here. You know why? Because if we go back, if we do minus and this minus, of course, it would end up as plus, right? So you need to think about it in that way. So this is why we wrote this first. And now, since now we have 2 terms, we have this as my first term, this as my second term. Of course, we can see we can take x minus 4 common. And we are remaining with what? From the first half, we have a. From the next half, we have minus b. That is my final answer. Let's look at some other type of questions. Before that, we have a practice question. I hope that you do get this answer. And let's see. Okay, so here we have another question. And before we do that, I do need to show you a formula, okay? So if we, let's say, see a to the power of b with the same a to the power of c, as in if we keep the bases same, but the powers can either be different or the same, doesn't really matter. But the main thing is if the bases are the same and they're getting multiplied to each other, the powers will be added up, okay? And another formula is if the bases are the same, but if they're getting divided, the powers will be subtracted. So as we can see here, the bases are x's, right? But the powers are what? The powers are different. Even if it were x to the power 5 times x to the power 5, we would have still added the 5's. But because the numbers are different here, it's still the same. We will do what? We will do 5 plus 6. So that gives me x to the power 11. That's my final answer. Okay? Moving on, we have what? Just like I said, if the bases are the same, even if the powers are different, what we do is we subtract the powers, right? That means p to the power 12 divided by p to the power 7 means we will do p to the power 12 minus 7. So that gives us p to the power of 5. Okay. So here we have another question. It's 2m cubed n squared, and then we have a whole squared. So that means that there's a squared on top of the entire thing, okay? So what that means is individually, we need to go for 2 squared times, there was already a 3 to begin with. So with that 3, we do a 2 here, times there was an n squared to begin with. So with that 2, we put another 2. So now what? So 2 squared is 4. M, 3 times 2 is 6. N, 2 times 2 is 4. So that is my final answer, okay? So when you have parentheses here, basically you will not add, okay? You will not add, you will multiply just as the question says. Okay, now what is here? What's going on here? If we just look at the numerator, that's x to the power 4 times x to the power minus 3. So like we see here, of course, the bases are the same. And because it's getting multiplied to one another, what we do here is we basically need to add the powers again. So that's 4 plus minus 3 on top. And in the denominator, we just put x to the power minus 5 as it is. So now what? Now, if we just simplify the numerator, that is x to the power of 4 plus minus 3, that's what? 4 minus 3, right? Keeping this the same. Let's just do the rest half here. So x to the power of 4 minus 3 is 1. It's just 1, right? You can write the 1 or you can skip it, doesn't matter. And then you have x to the power minus 5 here. Now, looking at the previous formula, you now have two bases which are the same, which are both x's, but the powers are different. So now what we do here is we need to subtract the powers, right? So now you will do 1 minus 5. So what happens here is 1 minus 5. So minus and minus makes plus. So that's 1 plus 5. So that gives me x to the power of 6. Okay? And with that being said, that's the last example for today's class. We have another practice question here. I hope that you do get this answer correctly.
So with that being said, that is the end of this lesson. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want more practice materials and videos like this, make sure to download our SHSAT Prep app from Apple App Store. You are going to find out a lot of practice materials. And at the same time, there's a predictive test waiting for you so that it's going to give you a real feel of what the exam is going to feel like. Thank you so much for watching once again. Make sure to check out our next lessons and at the same time, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more.